Hi guys, good afternoon. Let's have a quick look over the charts. Seen a bit of a messy day really across the markets. You've seen the euro trend lower, then find support come down. Now it's stopped within an area it's been for quite a lot of time. I would have this trend line on the lows. It's, yes, slightly messy, but it's a good little guide to have. The line in the sand to the upside for me is basically the sort of the support from last night around here. That turned to support / resistance. It's more of a zone, but yeah, I think if we can see something like this, well, I should say, if we get to here, then I would favour the long, so sort of 117 handle on the futures. To the downside, I guess you can start thinking maybe there's a bit of a trend line from the highs that you might want to have on, which also would lead to the breakthrough. But this is the area where the bears need to defend, and they will be looking for price to drift down lower. So yeah, let the battle commence basically. The pound this morning had another little push after, you know, the classic sort of false break of an area support. It's been such a good way to trade the pound, isn't it, at the moment? In find a resistance level, turn it to support, and only get those false breaks. It can sort of push on. It didn't quite false break yesterday, but you can see a few examples of when it has done something pretty similar. Let me just move that out of the camera, and you can see here it's just nicely pushing on now for the pound. Area to be aware of, I guess, really that the sort of the 130 handle, solid support or resistance turns to support. You'd be happy staying long as it is above that. So, you know, the bulls want to see that. The bears obviously want that push down to target the low of the day and also the pivot area. The S&P came into an area of support I'd had marked up. I quite like this when you sort of, and this was before we came lower, just having, you know, a trend line on where it could almost predict that third test, and it did quite well there. And also from the upside where we broke through, of course, yesterday, that's acted as a support point. Big day for equities, most notably the NASDAQ. Yesterday's high was the low of the 23rd. If you watched the webinar last night, I was just talking about the importance of that. I think if we finished above there, we'd be on the high of the 23rd by now, but we didn't, and we drifted lower. It's come to an area of support, but you know, tonight things could get interesting, especially if we close, you know, more negatively and down towards this area here. This is the point where, you know, of course I'm still medium term long, but I'd be a bit worried, you know, if we close the day here, that this could turn to the next leg lower towards 3100. But looking at this over the last couple of weeks, messy, hit the bottom of the range, didn't quite make the top, so those highs are getting lower. But ultimately it's going to be driven by those earnings later, and the NASDAQ, you can see, has come back down to our key level support here. You know, this is that key point. We hit the low the 22nd and 23rd morning. Bigger move for the NASDAQ. You know, chances are, end of the day, it's going to be, I'd be surprised if it's in between here, put it like this. I'd favour the upside, but that said, below these areas of support, you imagine the low of the 24th comes in, and then you start to look at the daily chart again, and you get your rough trend line on those lows, and you can see that could well break, and then you get the 21-day moving average, which has acted as a good little guide to buy, and suddenly, you know, we get a bigger close below there, and this market comes down. I don't think that's going to happen, but it's trade what you see, not what you think, as you well know. Let's have a look over at gold, which is just starting to, you know, turn over a touch on that day of where we sort of finished last night, and we're drifting down a touch. Yeah, a little pullback would be welcome, wouldn't it? I think on the 60-minute, you know, I'm starting to just have a look. Are we going to get any of these trend lines? You know, as a bit of a guide. Not quite yet. I think you've got solid area support, which almost acted as the low. You can see here going back from the 27th, good little support yesterday and again this morning. So below 1954, maybe it gets a bit ugly, but double top as well. So, you know, could wait for that to break to the upside. Although at the moment I would prefer a little retracement. Anyway, guys, hope you're well and have a great rest of your day.